Hey YouTube, this is Nas here for the 6th episode of Duelist Almanac. Today we're talking about side decking and creating a good side deck and side deck strategy. So everything to do with the side deck. So when you look at your cards, you look at the things that you can use against other archetypes, other things that give you problems. The first thing you want to do is identify where your problems are. It makes no sense to side things that are anti-machine if machine decks don't give you a problem. You only have 15 cards in your side deck, so you want to take advantage of every single card. So first off, you have to identify problems for your deck. So things that you consistently lose against, that has nothing to do with your level of play or making misplays or things of that nature. For example, I do not do well against Dark World. I just have a problem. So in my side deck, I have a DD Crow, 2 Gemini Imps, a Soul Release, 2 Debunks, and 2 Shadow Mirrors. So I'm pretty much statted out if I feel like going against Dark World, if we're siding when we play. That's a mixture of hard counters and soft counters. Now let me define to you what these are. Hard counters are something that's usable only in a specific situation, and it's usually very powerful. Like Kinetic Soldier. Really good against warriors, but other than that, it doesn't really have a use. The cool thing about hard counters is that they're very powerful against the thing that they counter, like Puppet Plant, very good against spellcasters and warriors. Not so good against anything else. The problem with them is they're not very versatile. Something like, I don't know, Smashing Grounds. That's a soft counter. It's very versatile. You can use it against many decks, any deck that pretty much outclasses you with Brawn. So that'd be something like, for me, Dragons, Dark Worlds, some varieties of Machina OTK, things of that nature. So a soft counter isn't necessarily as powerful as a hard counter, but it's more versatile. You can use it against more decks. I mean, Smashing Grounds, you can use it against a lot of decks, including Master Hyperion. On the other hand, System Down, only useful against Machina, and nobody's using Chimera Tech right now. So Machina and Karakuri, really good against. And very crippling to them. I mean, you pay 1,000, remove from play all machine types, monsters on your opponent's side of the field and in their graveyard. So that's the examples, those are the definitions of hard and soft counters. Another thing that a lot of beginning players make the mistake of is they put cards in their side deck. They put cards that they want to be using, that they, just like tech or something, that they figured they'd throw in. For example, like Charge of the Light Brigade. Right now, I'm probably not going to use this. I don't mill as much because my chaos, my actual chaos guys, don't benefit from milling all the time. I mean, if I had a BLS and a second Chaos Sorcerer and I throw those in instead of the Dark Arm Dragon, I'd be using Charge just to make sure that my Chaos type plays would be live. However, that's not the case. So right now, Charge would just be something extra. Also, this says add a Lightsworn from your deck to hand. So if I have Thunder King up, that is usable. So that's something that I would put in the deck, but just because I would put it in doesn't mean I should put it in my side deck. Something that you should put in your side deck are things like DD Crows, Doom Cows, especially against Insectors. I love Doom Cow. Kaikos, Puppet Plants, things that can counter your opponent. So the main tenets when thinking about a side deck are addressing problems within your own deck, dealing damage to your opponent, so things with a mixture of hard and soft counters, and things that will give you more options or more versatility. I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you my current side deck for my Doppel Plant, or my Junk Doppel Plant deck. So we have 2 Cyber Dragons. These guys are soft counters. They provide more versatility. They're lights, so I can make chaos plays more frequently. And they're fairly strong. They're 21 attack. They also increase the rapidity of my sinking. If I go second, my opponent plays a monster, I Cyber Dragon, and then play a tuner, basically. And mid-game, I can play Cyber Dragon, normal summon Junk Synchron, revive something from grave, and then make a bunch of Synchro plays off of that. So they're accelerators, and they provide an element of strength. I like the Cyber Dragons. Also, they function as hard counters, combined with Chimera Tech Fortress, against machine decks, you have all your Burai Burrito, all your wacky Karakuri stuff, or a bunch of gadgets, or Machina Fortress, I'll just special summon Cyber Dragon, then Contact Fuse for Chimera Tech Fortress. They lose all their stuff, and I get a big monster. It's nice. DD Crow, it's a soft counter. It's nice, it's 1 star, so it provides a little more options for me. It's dark, if I mill it, not a big deal. And it's revivable with Junk Synchron, and then you can go into drop Doppel and do a few things. So being 1 star isn't a problem for my deck. And also being dark, it's not a problem if I mill it. And his effect, of course, is by discarding this card from your hand to the graveyard and remove from play 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. This effect can be activated during either player's turn. Your opponent uses Monster Reborn or uses some revival effects. I have DD Crow in hand. I pitch it, discard it, get rid of the Grapha, or get rid of whatever you selected. The only problem is it functions only on your opponent's graveyard. So if they Monster Reborn and target something from your grave, you can't DD Crow that. You can't do anything. So that's why I only have it at 1. It's nice. It's been useful a few times. Plus, it's like the cybernetic version of Yatagarazu. I mean, come on, right? All right. Next, we have DD Warrior Lady, soft counter. Light, provides some versatility. 1500 attack, a bit of brawn. Still gets hit by Deck Devastation Virus, so that's why I don't run 2. It's a warrior. I can search it with Rhoda, and I can just play it and wait for my opponent to do something. As soon as it attacks over DD Warrior Lady, I remove them both. Also, it's a light, so if I mill it, not that big of a problem. The other thing is I can set the Warrior Lady. My opponent will think it's a Raikou, waste some destruction on it, or just attack into it anyways with a Grapha or something, figuring that I'll target the Grapha and they'll just revive it next turn. I'll just remove the Grapha. I don't care. Same thing goes for dragons. I mean, they'll stomp into it with when they have Primaterial Dragon and Red Eyes Darkness Metal out, they'll just stomp into it. I'll remove their RDM. I mean, it's a non-destructive effect. It's great. My opponent plays a Stardust, attacks into it, remove their Stardust. Warrior Lady solves problems. I like her. Alright, 2 Gemini Imps. Like I said, Dark World's my biggest issue. And I'm not running Closed Force because it's not that I can't afford them, I'm just not prepared to buy them. I think that they're going to be reprinted fairly shortly, seeing that they're just video game promos, and the video game promos, the most recent ones got reprinted in Gold Series 4, the Skull Dice, Exchange, and Graceful Dice, so I don't want to spend like $15 or $13 each just for something that's going to be reprinted. Plus, I don't really have a problem with them having Gates of Dark World out. That's like the least of my problems. Gates of Dark World is an accelerant for them, and it helps them maintain field presence because they can always draw, and it pumps their monsters up. Gemini Imps, though, they're foolish enough to use deal with Dark World dealings on me. I'll just Gemini Imps, just draw something. They don't get their discard. Or they play Morphing Jar. I'll just Gem Imps them, and it'll negate them, and I'll still draw. So it's the closest thing to Maxi I have right now, since I'm not dropping $50 on a little cockroach. But I like them. They're dark. Not a big deal if I mill them. Plus, they're fiends, so if my opponent does have gates out, they can come out at 13, which isn't much, but sometimes it helps. Okay, 2 Leeching the Lights. This is my only real hard counters for Lightsworn and Master Hyperion decks. I just play it, boom, get a bunch of attack, run over their Hyperion, run over their Christia. Not a problem. The Christia is a problem for me because all my guys special summon, so it's a nice little hard counter. And, I mean, by committing only 2, I don't feel like that's a big deal. It's worth it because Hyperion does cause me some problems. Another MST in case my opponent's running a bunch of destruction prevention and I feel it unwise to heavy storm them, or if they're just running a huge amount of back row and I need an extra MST, I have that. You should always probably side another MST, especially if you're only running 2 and heavy storm, because you can take out the heavy storm for the 3rd, or just throw in another if you need it. On the other hand, you can take out the MSTs if your opponent's running like a frog deck and put in like debunks or something, but I'll get to those in a minute. Soul Release, this is pretty much a soft counter, I feel, but it's very powerful. The only problem is it can only be played on your turn, but it's very powerful. And the other thing is like you can pick and choose, so you can use this on yourself to set up a dark armed play if you have too many darks. but everybody uses the Grave. This is going to be really devastating against Insectors, so I'm glad I still have it from the Pegasus structure deck. Also really effective against pretty much anything that uses the Grave, so in a mirror match against Synchrocentric or Plants, or to a lesser extent Machina and Karakuri, but still really good against Dark World, Chaos decks, Chaos Control. I like Soul Release. It's a great card. I definitely wouldn't run more than one, though, because I have these. The double debunks. Oh, these are awesome. These are great against zombies, but nobody's playing zombies right now. Great against Dark World, obviously. Anything that they activate from the hand or the grave, I'll just remove them. Also can prevent people from bringing their plants back. So, it's a bit of a hard counter, but I can use it against a couple people. I guess it's a soft counter, though, because it just stops their play. It doesn't do anything huge, as it may be. It doesn't dramatically swing the game. It just gives me an opening, basically, and I like it a lot. Plus, I think the art's freaking awesome. You know, they're great. And do I have two? Yeah, and I have 2 first editions, so I like the debunks. I'm glad I got them. I've been looking for them for a while. I have 2 Shadow Mirrors. Activates when the effect of a dark monster activates on the field or grave, negate it. I have this set. Dark World player plays Dark World Lightning, chain Shadow Mirror after they select it. I mean, come on. There's not much they can do. Really great against zombies. Really great against... Oh yeah, it stops Endless Decay. It just stops them. They now have 0 attack. Really great against dragons. The only problem is, okay, the dragons can't bring other dragons back, but that's still a 2800 friggin' Red Eyes Darkness medal, so there's not much you can do there. But then you work around it, then you put in, I don't know, some other things that are effective against dragons. Definitely when that new Dragonic Legion, or whatever the American version is called, when Dragons Collide, I think it's called, since they're all like star and space themed. When those come out, I'll probably be siding in Dragon Capture Jars, depending on what happens to Dark World and how it mutates. So that's pretty much it. In summary, first thing when developing a really good side deck is you have to identify problems within your own deck. Then you have to identify cards you can use to solve those problems. Then you have to identify what's popular in the meta right now and things you have trouble with. For example, where I go at the UMD Duelists, there's a couple people who play like Nordic and Goat stuff. I don't really have a problem against them, so I don't really side any hard counters. I don't really pay attention to that. Same thing with the Gravekeepers. I don't really have a problem with them, so I just don't side stuff in. And then you also have to have the discipline to not just put stuff in that you think would be cool or fun, like the Compulses. I mean, Dust Tornadoes are worthy of siding, but things like Compulse or Charge are just extraneous cards. Everything in your side deck should serve a purpose. So that's it for the 6th episode of Duelist Almanac. Tomorrow we'll be talking about gamesmanship, and I'll have to figure out what that actually means. See you later.